Hello everybody. So today we're going to talk about semen retention, how that goes into sexual transmutation, and why it's important for men to know it exists and know that it's out there. So I guess first it's important to go over what semen retention is. Pretty self-explanatory. It is a man being the king of his own castle, being fully in control, and retaining from expelling his semen. And you might be asking yourself, why would men do this? It turns out that there's a couple benefits that come with semen retention. Things such as increased energy drives, boosted immune system, cures for erectile dysfunction, more overall confidence, improved memory, and control over just your basic urges. So what is semen? Let's at least talk about what it really is. We know that semen is full of nutrients, proteins, minerals, and enzymes. We also know that 2 weeks after retaining semen, your body actually absorbs it back into its system, which is super, super interesting. So after 2 weeks of retaining, your body is already getting that nutrients back into it. And we do know that men that go through semen retention do experience a spike in testosterone levels. Semen, therefore, is man's greatest nutrients. It's man's greatest nourishment. It is the very essence of man himself. And once you realize that semen is man's greatest nourishment and that it is the very essence of man himself, you realize that a man would be a fool to dispose of it cheaply and for short-term pleasures. Okay, so how does all of this go into sexual transmutation? So sexual transmutation is taking all of the energy that you're accumulating and being able to put that energy into something else. So it's taking your new high sex drive and being able to put that into things like being creative, exercising, building relationships, daring to do what might terrify you, more confidence when talking to women and men, etc., etc. Okay, so now time to watch some videos.
Shot. I can't touch confidence, but I can feel it. I could sense it oozing out of you. Enjoy the win. How are we celebrating, by the way?
There'll be some celebrating. I don't know. I got to keep it kind of contained, but okay. I might end up in a different country this week.
I heard 6 weeks. Abstinent. That's what DC said.
Yeah. Bad, huh?
Is that a record?
No. That's the scary part. I'm serious. I don't mess around and can't. I don't like distractions. I take my job very seriously, and I know what I want.
I behave very good. I don't disturb it, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. No sex.
Is that true, like a fighter?
Always. In the Gracie family, always before the fight.
Yeah, because,
long time.
by having sex, you waste a lot of energy. The vital energy in your body goes away. It's normal. It's something we normally do, and there's no problem at all. But if you want to accumulate energy, if you want to, get full energy, you cannot waste racing horse. Until they stop racing, they are virgins. Just when they stop the racing, they start kind of go for reproduction, or they can having sex with the mares and stuff. Other than that, so that's a little example how important it is keep the vital energy. It's so much more energy if you. So I try to keep myself away from sex at least 2 weeks before the fight.
How's your vital energy now?
100%. Kind of about to explode.
So I thought that was super interesting. Racehorses are all virgins. And then you gotta think, there's probably a reason for that. Let's watch some racehorses.
Final turn headway with a lot of ground to make up. Rufus King striding forward by 3 to 4 lengths here under Joe Fanning. Could take some pegging back.
No wonder the horses all run so fast. It all makes sense now.
Headway begins to find his stride.
Look at this horse. There's no way that this horse could have done this.
He is cutting into the lead. Rufus King by 4, by 3, by 2. Headway flying home, thrusting, gonna get there. Good horse.
Let's go back. Let's go back. Now it makes sense why they're virgins. Look how much energy that they have.
By 4, by 3,
it's like a superpower.
Headway flying home, thrusting, gonna get there. Good horse. Headway wins the Spring Cup.
Well, let's look at other famous people who have talked about the retention of semen. From Friedrich Nietzsche, the reabsorption of semen by the blood is the strongest nourishment, and perhaps more than any other factor, it prompts the stimulus of power. Or Muhammad Ali's boxing coach, Harry Wiley. There's a kid named Cassius Clay. If you bet on him every time he fights, you'll be a rich man. I believe his thing is sexual control. Any kid who can control his sex can win the title. I believe it. Or how about David Hay? I don't ejaculate for 6 weeks before the fight. No sex, no masturbation, no nothing. It releases too much tension. It releases a lot of minerals and nutrients that your body needs, and releases them cheaply. Mike Tyson. I never knew that conquering so many women takes so much from you more than adds so much to you. I always read that the great fighters never had sex before fights, so I restrained myself from sex for about 5 years. What about great political thinker Jean-Jacques Rousseau? Whatever we may do, a young man's worst enemy is himself, and this is an enemy we cannot avoid. Therefore, watch carefully over the young man. He can protect himself from all other foes, but it is for you to protect him against himself. Never leave him night or day, or at least share his room. Never let him go to bed till he is sleepy, and let him rise as soon as he wakes. Mark Wahlberg. I don't get down with jerking off, dude. I lead a clean and pure life. I'm a married guy. I have a beautiful wife. Sex is not the most important thing to me. Like, imagine when you become such an alpha male that you are able to say that sex and sexuality as a whole is not your biggest concern, that you have priorities in your life and you know what you want and you can get what you want without the distractions of sex. Pretty amazing. I bet a lot of guys in this world wish that they could say what Mark Wahlberg could say. Even Tesla knew it was up. The woman is the biggest thief of that energy, and thus the spiritual power. That's a big one. That you have to realize, like, you can't let women be thieves. Don't let them steal your nutrients. Kanye West. People ask me a lot about my drive. I think it comes from, like, having a sexual addiction at a really young age. Look at the drive that people have to get sex, to dress like this, and get a haircut, and be in the club in the freezing cold at 3 a.m., the places they go to pick up a girl. If you can focus the energy into something valuable, put that into work ethic. I really like this one from Kant. A man gives up his personality when he uses himself merely as a means for the gratification of an animal drive. Damn, that's a big one. I think this is so important because one of the things that makes man so great is man was blessed with the gift of reason and to make rational decisions. So when you just go out and succumb to your urges and seek gratification in your animalistic drives, you're not a rational man. And I would argue that you're not a great man. So why is this all important? I just think it's super interesting because it wasn't long ago that I was sitting in a sex ed classroom and I was told that as a young male, it is perfectly healthy and in fact, possibly encouraged to masturbate. The problem is when you do that to boys is that it produces a generation of men that are depressed and anxious and suicidal and can't talk to women. And that's an issue. That's an issue that people need to talk about, but no one seems to be wanting to have this kind of conversation. I just think it's interesting, something to consider. Have a good day, guys.